एक एग्जांपल बताता हूँ जैसे रियल टाइम let me share my screen. Just quick example. Okay, so already Safiban already complete कर दिया ना आप CRUD operations. So basically हम लोग multiple we can like add multiple operations, right? In stored procedures. Okay, and generally add update will be mostly whatever I observed till now is mostly a single stored procedure in most of the cases actually. So उसमें क्या करते हैं हम तो like whenever we want to, if you can see my screen, right? So here what I have done is like I have created one stored procedure which is to like perform add or update. Okay, and I'm adding both the things in a single stored procedure. Okay, basically what happens is in real time, like employee data will be there, or customer data will be there, or whatever product details will be there. So everything will be stored in a single table, and whenever we are inserting the data of a customer or employee or product, so it will get inserted into that particular table, and when we are updating in the same table, it will get updated, right? So mostly what we do is like in most of the cases I can say we can have multiple store procedures as well, but mostly we can have a single store procedure by passing the required parameters to insert or update the same table. Okay, so for that purpose actually what we do is in the single store procedure, if you can see here, we can use this condition, right? Where you see here I am adding or updating the customers in customer table, right? So I am passing customer ID, customer name, customer address, and customer country. If first we are checking if customer ID is existing or not, because based on the customer ID we are inserting or updating the details. So first we are checking whether customer ID is existing or not, and based upon that we are, if it is exists, like this condition we are using, if else loop we are using, if customer ID is existing, right, then we are updating it. Okay, and after that also we can have follow-up statements to update in multiple tables actually. So that is the advantage of stored procedure as we have seen, right? So we can have then I'm inserting those details into one of the history table. Okay, and just inserting the value as updated, and when it has been updated to track the audit history of that particular table. So whenever any changes has been done to that customer table, who means like when those changes has done in real time, actually when those changes has done, who did those changes, everything will be saved in audit history tables to keep track of those changes actually. So immediately after that, just I'm inserting those things into one history table. If suppose that is not existing, then we are inserting the details into customers tables. So like this also we can perform this add and update operations actually using the store procedure. Okay, so already you did it, but two different store procedures you did. So that is what just I thought of like showing one example which in which we can have both the things in a single store procedures. Okay.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So इसमें actually one more topic left out in store procedure is like returning the values using the out parameters. So इसमें input parameters देके actually we are inserting or updating the values or doing some CRUD operations, right? So one more thing is like we can also return the values from the stored procedures using the out parameters actually. So I think that is later we can check, or I think what do you suggest to base actually? So out
It's up to you.
parameters,
Yeah,
return connectivity.
it's up,
Yeah, that we can cover later actually, I think. Okay.
just give a definition of what it is. I think that could be enough. I was not planning to go in that area.
Actually, yeah, out parameters actually in stored procedures are used when we want to return some data actually from the stored procedures actually. So, but yeah, for that actually we can see more details later actually, because I need to check as well actually for that. So I need to refer and I need to proceed on that. So examples I don't have any right now as well. So that we can see later only. Yeah, I think. So that only one topic left out in stored procedures, returning the values from the stored procedure, that we can see maybe sometime later. So apart from that, I think we have covered everything in stored procedures. Okay. ठीक है Namma. So we'll see that later, output parameters in stored procedures.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me now let us start with functions. Okay. The next topic is functions. The basic definition of functions is like it is a set of SQL statements that we can use to perform a particular task. So, so whenever we want to do some particular set of SQL statements, and we are writing in the same, it's like in suppose in a stored procedure only you are using same set of stored SQL statements, or multiple times you are using same set of SQL statements to perform a particular task, then we can create a function, and we can execute that function and call that function whenever we want to use that operation actually. Whenever we want to execute those set of SQL statements, we can use that function directly instead of writing each and every time those set of SQL statements. So basically, there are two types of functions in SQL. We call it as built-in function or system-defined functions. System-defined or built-in. Okay. The second one is like user-defined. So as the name specifies, system defined is like already the SQL Server team has already provided few of the functions for us in SQL Server that we can directly use, ready to use functions. And user defined functions is users can create the custom functions that can be used in SQL Server. So for example of system defined functions is already we are aware of that, like we have some mathematical functions, some aggregate functions. So for example, we know max, right? Max, min, sum. So and get date. So all these are functions which are already defined in the SQL Server. So these are only few examples I am specifying, but there are so many functions which are available in SQL Server that we can directly use them provided by the SQL Server. So those are called as system-defined functions. Where exactly these system-defined functions will be stored? Functions will be stored. So if you go to a particular database, for example, take I have taken my test TB database. So in programmability, we have a folder called functions. So like stored procedures, we have a folder called functions as well. So inside that function, we can see here system function, right? So in the system functions, we'll be having all the aggregate functions and whatever functions are already defined in the SQL Server. So all these functions are we can refer and we can use those functions directly. So like count, okay, already we have used this max, min, sum, average. So all these we can use. And how we use these functions? So whenever we use the functions, we use it with select state. Okay, select suppose let me go to my test TV. Okay, this is the table I have. So select max customer ID, right? Or select count of customer name, or select. So we have seen these functions already. We have used in the queries, but just wanted to quickly cover these basic functions again. Some of customer ID if you take, okay, my customers. So these are already built-in functions which directly we can use. And we have a few string functions as well, like select length of mm, customer name. So it will return the length of the string of the customer name, okay, from my customers, where customer name equals to 0. So it will return the length of the customer name Xerox. So these are the basic functions which are already defined within the SQL Server that we can directly use. So these functions are called as system defined functions. Okay, the second type of functions are called user defined functions. So these functions will be defined by the users. So these are custom functions created by the users that can be used. Again, if we consider user defined function, whether we have multiple user defined functions can be created. So those are like scalar valued functions. Scalar valued functions, and we have table valued functions. Okay. Table valued, actually we have again, we can return single table, so which we call as inline table valued functions, as well as we have multi-statement table valued functions. So like this, we can create multiple custom user defined functions actually. So here in scalar valued functions is like, if we start with scalar valued functions, so scalar valued functions are like returns actually a single scalar value. So main thing which we need to remember using the functions is, whenever we create a function, it definitely it has to compulsory return something actually. Either it can be a single value or it can be a table value. So, but it will definitely return a value. So that we need to remember it actually. So whenever we create a function, it can be a scalar function or it can be a table value function. So if it is a scalar function, so it returns a single scalar value. So for example, we will see the example shortly. First we'll see the syntax and then we can go with an example. So we start with scalar valued function. In scalar valued functions, as I said, it will return a particular single scalar value whenever we execute that function. And in table valued functions, it returns as it specifies, it returns a table. So we start with scalar valued functions. Again, the scalar valued functions can be, as we have seen the stored procedures, right? Stored procedures can be there with the parameters or without parameters. In the similar way, the functions also can be there with parameters or without parameters. So we can pass the input parameters to the functions, and based upon the parameters, we can write the function and return some required output actually. So similarly, uh, we can create a function without any parameters. So first we will start with scalar valued functions. So as I said, it returns a single or scalar value. The syntax is, whenever we are creating a function, we need to start with create function name. So first we'll start with the function with no parameters. Okay, create function name, and we have to give the parentheses as it is a function. And every time a function returns the value, so immediately we have to write returns. Okay, and what it returns, if it is a scalar, it returns a particular scalar value, right? Single scalar value. So whenever we use scalar function in returns, we have to specify what type of value we are returning. So means like data type which is going to be returned from this function. So either it can be varchar or it can be integer. Yeah, based upon the type of value which we are returning, we can mention the data type. Okay. After that, as begin and end, we have to write for the set of statements, SQL statements which we are going to write here. And inside that, we write SQL statement. This is the syntax of creating a scalar function without any arguments. So let me change this. So any questions till now, Sophie?
No, no.
Okay, here begin. So let me start with a simple example. I want to return some simple. Let me open which I already prepared it for the demo. So let me take this example. I have this table as database, my test DB. I have a single table in that select star from my customers. So this customers is having around 6 values. Okay, right? 6 rows are available in my customer table. And I am creating a function without any parameters first. Okay, so this is a simple example. Create function just to return some kind of message. Okay, I have given the function name, returns, and the data type name, as I said. And varchar I have given us 200. After that, as begin return. So here I can, it is a simple message I am returning. So whenever this function gets executes, it will return some function. Okay. So let me create it. Okay, there is already action. Yeah, a marks completed successfully, right? Now, how to execute this function and where it will be saved? We is scalar valued functions. Okay, fn underscore get message, right? So here we can see this function is already got created. So if we have any parameters, it will show here in parameters. If we don't have any, it will show nothing. So how to execute this? How to call this function? So we call this function using statement select. Okay, and whenever we use call this function, right? Function name is fn underscore get message. So we can call the function using select statement, and we have to specify compulsory dbo dot function name, and directly we can use it as a, you see, when directly we can execute it dbo dot fn underscore get message and use it with select statement. If I don't use dbo, it will not recognize it as a function. So this is the syntax of calling a function. You see, fn underscore get message is not a recognized function name. So definitely we have to specify database object actually. dbo dot fn underscore get message, and we can how to make changes to the functions. We can use again alter to alter the function. Okay, commands completed successfully. Right now I am executing the function. You see message returning from function alter. And to drop the function, we can use drop function name. Commands completed successfully. Now differentiate. This is a scalar value function. So there is no function with name fn underscore get message, right? So this is about scalar valued function, which is returning a single value and without parameters. Then I have created two more examples actually here. One is with parameters. Okay. So in this actually what what we are doing is like, it is also a scalar valued function, and I am trying to pass some argument, some parameter, and returning some calculation using that number. So I want to find out a cube of numbers, and I want to return that cube of a given number. So I'm passing some parameter here at the rate number, create function, find cube of numbers at the rate num, variable name or parameter name, and the type of parameter. And what it returns an integer value. So returns int as begin, and inside that I am returning some value. So simply it is already being created. So let me write alter. Now while executing this function, I have to use select and dbo dot function name, and I need to pass the parameter. So when I execute it, it will return me the cube of that number, right? So this is about passing function with parameters. So we can, if you have multiple parameters, we can use multiple parameter types. We have to give multiple input parameters, and we have to use those parameters within our SQL statements within the begin and end, actually wherever we write the SQL statement. Right? We have two functions created. And you see, just I want to alter this stored procedure. Okay. Yeah, any questions, Safi here?
No concept.
Yeah. So what we have seen is creating a function, scalar valued function with parameters and without parameters, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Almost it is like stored procedure.
Yeah, it is similar to store procedure, but we cannot but there are so many differences between store procedure and a function actually. So for example, here actually in functions, right, we cannot use insert, update, and delete commands actually. Okay, in functions, that is one thing. And also like it is always means like it is having so many complex queries and large set of SQL statements, and it is preferred to go for stored procedure. Okay, and one more thing is like uh, these functions. So right, so uh, functions, as I said, right, functions compulsory should return a value, right? So it returns some value definitely. Whereas in stored procedures, that is not mandatory. So if we may or we may not return some value using the stored procedure. So that is also one main difference between functions and stored procedures. And for this small kind of operations, like you see, if in multiple stored procedures, in multiple places, suppose we need to use finding the cube of numbers, for example, right? So in each and every place writing the same code, instead of that, we can create a function and we can keep it over here. And in stored procedures, we can call these functions directly. Instead of writing in multiple stored procedures, you might places actually you might require to calculate the cube of numbers, for example. Then in that case, actually what we do is we can create a function, and directly we can call that function in multiple places, in multiple stored procedures. So so these are the few differences between stored procedures as well as functions. Okay, Safiya.
Okay, Banu.
Yeah. So basic main difference is it definitely function has to return some value, either it is scalar value or table. Okay.
Okay.
And stored procedure may or may not return the value. As well, functions can be called within the stored procedures, but stored procedures cannot be called within the functions. So vice versa, it is like, yeah. So and next going to next, we have the second type of user defined functions are table valued functions. So in table valued functions, we have single valued table functions. Okay, so single value table functions. Okay, so for this actually, as scalar valued functions returns a single value, here in single valued table functions, it returns a table, single table. Okay, and let us see one example. So it is having a similar kind of syntax like create function, function name, and returns compulsory. Whereas in scalar valued functions, it is returning some value, right? Scalar value. There we are specifying the data type. Whereas in single valued table functions or inline valued table functions, we can also say inline table valued functions, it is returning a table type. So we specify always it returns table. And as if you compare say scalar valued and inline valued table functions, the difference is it returns table, and after as there is a block of begin and end in scalar valued functions. Whereas if it is an inline valued table function, there won't be any block such. Begin and end will not be there. And directly return select select statement, whatever it is. Okay. So let me create this command completed successfully. So now the function fn underscore get customers got created. So where it is saved actually. So let me refresh it. See, earlier we have seen that scalar valued functions are saved in scalar valued functions folder within the functions, right? So whereas table valued functions will be saved in table valued functions folder. So dbo underscore f dbo.fn underscore get customers. So this is what I have created, and using this function, I am trying to select all from my customers table. So now I can use this function. Select star from. I can make this as a table only actually. So if you want to use it in join operations like a normal table, that also we can make use. So select star from dbo.fn underscore get customers function name we have to specify. Then it will return the whatever I have written the logic within the function. Similar to that, we are not passing any parameter over here, right? So if required, we can have a table valued functions with parameters as well, like customer ID, int, and here I can specify where customer ID equals to at the rate customer ID, right? With customer ID.
Why ID?
Sorry,
Why ID?
yeah, customer
Customer by ID.
by ID, yeah.
Không đi निकाल दिए
First ID, I need to pass the parameter like 101, right? So it will return with that particular ID. So it is with by using the input parameters. And if you want if you want to drop the functions, so we can use drop function name. Then this got dropped from the function. So we have customer by customer ID. We have this underscore get customer. So this is dropping a function actually. So similarly, we can use the alter command to make the changes to the function. So we can make use of create, alter, drop commands similar to store procedures here. Okay, that is about single valued or inline table valued functions.